Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening for those in Europe. Like me, we are Quividi. So Quividi is a Paris-based company with a subsidiary in the US managed by Mitch. And we provide audience data and shopper engagement for do and retail. We use computer vision to do that and sensors and AI, and we're the pioneers in doing what we do. Saying that we are the pioneers, I think it's a nice euphemism to say that we started way too early. So 17 years ago, with absolutely no market for what we were doing. But in that journey, during that time, we had the chance to start working with and still do work with, among the largest do media owners, the largest shopping mall companies, the largest retailers in the US, but in some other markets as well, directly or through partners. And they really allow us to operate at scale today. So just to give you an idea, we measure every month 1.5 billion monthly impressions. Next slide, please, Mitch. We are known for two platforms. So I think that the number one is this audience measurement platform that we've been doing since 17 years now, which leverage computer vision, so a camera sensor, and AI to understand how many people pass in front of a screen. If these people are male or female, so we can segment in terms of demography. We can also segment these impressions in terms of engagement. So we provide dwell time, but also attention time. So dwell time in front of the screens, but attention time to a specific content played on that screen. So we could provide audience impression per campaign. You could also leverage our data to contextualize either in real time or in advance if you want to plan your content to really show the right content to always the right audience. We have another platform. Mitch, I think you left the slide show mode, which was soft launching this year. So it's a bit new. You're still not in slideshow mode, Mitch. Perfect. Thank you very much. So it's the performance merchandising platform, which is really dedicated to retail. So if you want to understand how your gondola hand performs, so specific trend marketing or merchandising operations performs, you will use this platform that leverage our AMP platform or computer vision technology and adds a new sensor, which is a LiDAR. And the two combined allows you to really give you the full engagement funnel of this gondola hand. So from how many people pass in front of this gondola hand to how many people stopped and looked at the product to how many people handpicked a product. And this is where we use the LiDAR to understand the handpicks, how many people who put back this product and how many people left with that product to buy it. So we really recreate this sales funnel to for the brands and retailers to understand how their merchandising operations work. So I lost the slides, but in a nutshell, that's what we do. We're soft launching that. We are testing it in some market in Europe right now, in Africa as well, and soon in your market as well. So if we can go to the next slide, Mitch. Perfect. So we like to say that the data that we provide through this platform is high fidelity. It's first party to our clients, so to the media owners. It really counts all the people passing in front of the screen. So we don't, use a proxy to count the people. We don't count devices. We really count the people, the bodies, the faces that pass in front of the screens. In that same way, we can prove that someone was actually in front of the screens where a specific message was played, a specific campaign was played. So we prove this ad exposure, which really brings this, level of transparency that is needed today, especially from the buy side, and especially from advertisers and agencies that are used to buy online, and they are really they really appreciate the quality of the data that they can find with Quividi when they do our retail media campaign. We provide engagement, so attention time. We do that in real time. So all the data points, you can find them and have access to them online through a data platform. And you can action that in real time, almost real time, to optimize your campaign if you want. And we do that while being privacy compliant. So we're based in France, so we're in the middle of the GDPR, really GDPR territory, and we know what it means to operate in a privacy respectful way. So when you use the Quividi solutions, you fall under the privacy regulations, meaning you have to comply with the GDPR, you have to comply with CCP, etc. The good news is you comply with it when you use the Quividi solutions because we have the right way of processing this personal data. Next slide, Mitch. I think you left the slideshow mode. It's okay. So even if we really value the quality of our data, we also understand that we don't provide a full picture. We don't provide the full insight that some of our clients might need. So what our clients do usually, they use Quividi or the Quividi data as the backbone of the data stack and layer on that insights in new data sets. For example, they will layer the location data to provide not only reach with Quividi, but also frequency with the location data. You will layer also on that behavior data so to understand a bit better who your audience impressions are. And either our clients are doing that, or we can do that. We have a data science team that can do this sort of calculation and this statistical correlation. We do that statistically, we don't do that deterministically because the Quividi data cannot be tagged. It's fully anonymous. You cannot track people. Every time you pass in front of the screen, you are counted as a new person. So you have to do that statistically, and it works extremely well. In our roadmap, we want to do that also. So we want to link our data with POS data, so to add a layer of or better attribution model. And a good example of how the Quividi data has been, interfaced with other platforms is really what we've done with the PDO platform. So for one of our clients, Clear Channel in Asia, we started automatically uploading our impressions multiplier to the likes of Broadsign, iStack, Vista Media, so that you can transact against our impressions multiplier. Next slide, Mitch.
Denny, I cannot find how to get into the slideshow, so I'm apologizing, and I know that I'm supposed to take over, but I've got a lot of background noise, so I'm going to ask you to continue. Is that okay?
I cannot. I have to go to my setting system. So just kill the bar that you have on the right at the bottom side, and I think that's okay. It's fine. People can see it.
Yeah, we can see the slides. So
it's good. It's good. Yeah,
that's fine. But look, I can do my best, and I apologize. I mean, obviously, I got a jackhammer going outside, and it just came up, but I do think that what Denise said is it obviously is true. In other words, high fidelity data, which to me is most closely replicates what they're used to online, and certainly for retailers and brands, the e-commerce people are very much now getting involved in what's happening in store. So I think that we provide, I think the most, again, high fidelity data that is closer to what they're used to with real time and being able to do A/B testing and things such as that. So, so the three major in-store use cases are basically branding communications that you can see on the far left. Basically measuring the efficacy of what that a store or brand want to communicate. We are now doing a pilot for this in the U.S. with a major bank that wants to understand both their dynamic and static messaging and how effective it is, as well as to get into contextual triggering content. The second would be merchandising that Denny touched on with our PMP or performance merchandising platform. In other words, smart POP displays. There's a lot of dollars that are obviously spent by CPG brands in stores for to get the right store placement and to get the right product placement. I know this very well. I worked for HP for a number of years, and you're always fighting to make sure you've got the right SKUs and the right locations in the right stores. And in order to measure basically the effectiveness of the customer journey, and to do things such as A/B testing and understanding what products work in what location. So basically planogram optimization. So things such as that. And we're doing pilots for those right now in the US as well, with some major grocers. And then lastly would be the media, retail media, which is of course the hot buzz right now. And excuse me one second. My dog is also coming at me. This is I hope you guys are laughing, and if somebody is. But anyway,
Mitch, we cannot really hear any of the background stuff, so don't be self-conscious about it. So I think we're good.
Okay. Thanks, JJ. Anyway, retail media, which is also a huge amount of dollars right now. If you've seen some of what Andrew Lipsman's been talking about in terms of the dollars that are forecasted to be spent in retail media, 45 billion is what it is today. It's forecasted as a CAGR of 20 to 25% over the next 5 years. So it's going to basically grow to 100 to 150 billion by 2027. And it's still very much I would say a nascent market. It's still very much right now just starting. I think a lot of the retailers that are in this space would view themselves as being in startup mode. But basically, we are doing this with brands such as Westfield and Harrods, but 7-Eleven, which is in Taiwan, is a major case study or success for us, having been with them for 10 years. Anyway, I'm sorry to go fast, and I'm sorry, but any questions on that? So I think that the key piece of this to understand for retail media is that the do space is more of a boxer, basically more screens, and whereas retail is more of a combining that art and science, and more of an artist like Picasso. So we would view this, and I think that the reason being that there needs to be a strategy around screens, how many screens, where the screens are located, content, and in order to minimize friction, and in order to basically make sure that customer, obviously who's so close to point of purchase, feels like they're being provided the right messaging at the right place at the right time, but not obviously interfering with their shopping and their customer journey. So that's where I think retail media, as well as, of course, the idea that retail media needs to incorporate programmatic channels, is maybe certainly perhaps different than do. The two of the tools, if you will, that we can help. I think I guess one of the big questions you get. We will be at the P2P Retail Media Summit, which is in Chicago at the end of June. Will be by retailers. Will be, where do I start? And I think two of the key places to start would be, number one, kind of a testing and learning. So one thing we did with a major retailer in Australia was to help them with their screen optimization or location optimization. So basically, putting out our cameras and select locations in order to decide on where the right screens would be within that venue, and in order to provide the right touch points for the customer journey. And then the second way would be to for content optimization, again, using our data in order to understand what is working and what's not working, in order to hit the right customer or the right audience at the right time of day, or maybe attract customers that maybe are not being shown or not seeing content at a certain time of the day or a certain location. So Dufry, being the largest duty-free stores in Europe, are ones that we've done this with. So
and Mitch, if I just add something, like what I like is how we help some of our clients with their content strategy. They are very in a test and learn mindset, a bit like online or social, where you want to crack the algorithm of TikTok, Instagram, to make sure you perform. They exactly operate the same way. They try to crack the in-store communication. How does that work? What is the right message for these screens? Not screens are equal. So they really want to understand the DNA of each screen and sort of tailor the right communication for that screen. So that's really the mindset and a journey for that, guys. It's a long process. It's not difficult if you have the right tool and the right partner, but it's something that few companies are doing right now.
Good. Other case studies that to highlight for us, and in these would be in well, two of them would be in North America. One would be Coinstar, that's using us for impression-based buying. and Westfield, whose sales teams go out and use our data to more or less guarantee impressions, basically to work on a campaign and say that we will guarantee you a certain number of impressions and that you don't have to pay until you hit that amount of impressions, as an example. And then in Italy, Grandi Stazioni, which is really more of a retail mall, but they're train stations in Italy, they combine our data with mobile data in order to understand reach and frequency of customers that come into that in order to drive incremental ad budgets. And I want to make sure we have time for hopefully some questions, but so this is really the last examples of case studies, but you can see that, you know, with 7-Eleven, they're using us for contextual content, triggering and contextual content based on what locations of the store maybe customers are dwelling at, and in order to provide them with you know, demographic-based contextual content. Stimorol's a gum brand that was using more of a experiential campaign for a Tinder-like campaign. Aldo that was using us in a mall to obviously run ads and then track attribution since they had stores. So to understand, you know, basically sales uplift in their retail stores. And then Coca-Cola, where we've done some interesting campaigns in Europe that are really more like A/B testing to understand display design, you know, kind of what works in, you know, coolers versus on the shelf, and in order to help them with their merchandising strategy. And then go ahead, Denis.
No, we love talking about that. So we'll be quite busy in the next weeks and months. So right now we have our president in Lisbon for the EU event, but we'll be in a lot of different you know, events and conferences with the DPAI guys in Cannes. We'll do, as Mitch mentioned, the P2PI Retail Media Summit in Chicago at the end of the month. We'll do a couple of IAB connected commerce and retail media events. We'll speak at the largest advertising festival in East Europe. And obviously, we'll attend the DPA Summit in October 10th in New York. So if you want to meet with us, these are the good events where you could connect with us.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. But would you have any questions?
Yeah, there's a question in the chat on privacy, I guess, right? How does that handled?
So privacy. So if you talk to the privacy authorities in Europe, for example, which are the most, you know, restrictive in terms of what we can do, they will tell you two things. If you process an image with the face of someone, so someone recognizable, then you process personal data, meaning that when you use the Quividi solutions, you fall under privacy laws. You will fall under GDPR, for example. So then you want to make sure that you comply with these privacy laws. This is what we do. The way we operate, technology that we use, you know, we don't do face recognitions, we do face detections. We process all the images in real time. We don't keep any personal data ever. It's deleted on the go. Everything is processed on the RAM memory of the computer, meaning that everything that we keep is just this fully anonymous metadata, which you cannot use to, you know, for any deterministic, you know, repersonalization of re-identification. So that's the way it works. We have to comply, our clients have to comply with the privacy laws, but using the Quividi solution, they do comply with privacy laws.
Great, thank you. And there's a question from Derek. Derek, do you want to ask it, or should I read it, or?
Yeah, it should be pretty self-explanatory there. Just wondering if you have any information that you've published or can share that relate the dwell time or attention metrics that you were talking about earlier with brand recall or brand recognition.
So we don't. So we do a lot of what we call content intelligence studies for clients, but it's not something we can share. What we're able to do, and we do that sometimes to times, is provide benchmarks. So we can provide, you know, the right ratio between dwell and attention times in different locations, you know, what are the right standards, et cetera, et cetera. But no, we haven't done any sort of link to, you know, brand recall, or at least not directly. But what we try to do really much is to really provide this level of content intelligence, so to make sure that you really work on your content strategy. So the right content length, the right value prop. So in most of the case, you don't have the time to tell a story on a public screens. You know, there is no like beginning, middle, or end of a content. You need to really have something more consistent with the value proposition always on screen. And so this is what we sort of teach our clients usually. Obviously, depending on the screen format and the locations, but this is more that way we're trying to apply some of a, you know, data science and intelligence to help them crack the on-screen communication.
Okay, thanks.
There was a question, I guess, about the new platform. Did you want us to answer that or give you more detail on that?
Yeah, so the new platform, so it leverages our computer vision technology, so the classic HAMP, so camera and our software solution that allows you to understand, you know, people passing, segmenting that by demographic, segmenting that by engagement. And we add on top of that a new sensor, which is a LiDAR. And the LiDAR helps us understand where the hand is going and if someone is picking a product. So if you apply that to a merchandising campaign on the gondola hand, you're able to really understand the full funnel. So all the, let's say, passers-by and people stopping provided by HEMP, and all the engagement data in terms of who is picking the product, who is putting the product back, who is leaving with the product, so that you really understand, you know, how many people you're able to engage and how many people in the end really either tried your product, hesitated, left with it to buy it. So this is the solution in a nutshell. Yeah. So as Mitch said, it's being tested already in some grocers in different regions in Europe, in Africa, in North America as well.